Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa aqibatul lil muttaqeen wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem amma ba'd fa'auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Respected viewers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm here to let you know something very important and of great significance in our lives. The creation of a human being. A human being was created with 10 elements. It is a combination of fire, water, air, sand and psyche. These 5 elements belong to Alam-e-Khalq, which was created in a gradual mode. Means it was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in gradual steps. Unlike the Alam-e-Amr, which was created when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just uttered a word, kun fayakun, and it was created in the moment, in the blink of an eye. It is very important for us to know that this creation of human being, which I said earlier, is a combination of these 10 elements. The elements that belong to our body are fire, water, air, sand and psyche. If there is any imbalance in any of these 5, there is a great trouble, and sometimes that trouble leads to fatal diseases. Whenever we have any problem with that or any of these 5, we turn to the doctors, we turn to the herbalists, we turn to the homeopathic doctors. But whenever anything wrong happens to our other elements that belong to Alam-e-Amr, like I said earlier, heart, spirit, sir, khafi, and the last one is akhfa. If anything happens to them, because all of them have different spiritual diseases, like if anything happens to our heart, that means we have suffered from the temptations of the world. If we have a loss of control over our anger, it is all related to our spirit. And sir is all about different bad things that relate to the bad manners. Any temptations that take us to the vice, all the bad deeds. Khafi is all about changing ourselves internally, inwardly and outwardly, and make ourselves able to be following the sunnah of Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam. And the last one, akhfa, is purely related to our blessed Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we start focusing on this last subtlety, the last element, we start having the spiritual beneficials or beneficiaries from Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam. Now I would like to talk to you about or place or decide or let you know that the placement of these 5 elements which are there in our spirit. Heart, the first one is Lataif, heart, or the subtlety of heart, which is placed 2 fingers below the left nipple towards our armpit. If you start reciting Allah, 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 the Ism-e-Zat, you start having the benefits in such a way that you never get fallen, you never fall to the temptations of the world. You never pay attention to your outwardly appearance. And similarly, when you start reciting Allah, Allah, Allah on the second Latifa, which is the second subtlety and called Latifa Ruh, is spirit, you start having control over your anger. And I would like to clarify one thing here which also lead to a misconception, that controlling your anger does not mean that you are finishing it or you are removing it from your personality. Anger is also very important. If you don't get angry over the blasphemy of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you are shameless. You have no self-respect. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us anger, but we have to control it. And you have to utilize it at the right time, whenever there's a matter of the respect of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, khafi is all about following the good deeds, doing good turns in your life. If you start doing it, you feel that there is a spiritual support, that you feel that all the time, whenever you want to have anything good in your life, you have a certain support in order to make it happen. The last latifa, which is akhfa, is purely related, or it comes from under the blessed feet of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then you start having the love from him and the personality traits that he possesses. Now I would like to tell you that a certain example with the help of which you would understand that the difference between the bodily ailment and the ailments pertaining to our spiritual being. Once a saintly man was approached by a man, a seeker, a talib. He asked him that he is after only one thing in his life. He wants to know the reality. And he wants to tell, and he wants to add this thing, that I want to know the truth and nothing else. The saintly man or the saintly person asked him that I would like to ask you a question about your being. The question is about, if I give you a pot and I want you to cleanse it, where would you apply your efforts to make it better? The person replied, obviously inside the pot. The saint asked him that why do you want the inside of the pot to be cleaner than the outward appearance of the pot? Then he said, the inside is more important because I have to cook things inside. And if there is any kind of dirt left inside the pot, I will never be able to cook it in the purified form. The saint smiled and he said, the same case is with the heart of a seeker, the talib. If you inside are not pure, polluted, then how is it possible for you to put or to sustain the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now, in our silsila Aliya Naqshbandiya Mujaddidiya, we have our focus equally on both the aspects of a human being. We do not only focus on the embellishment of the outward appearance, but also the inside of a human heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that in your whole body, I have only interest in your heart. That is where I live, in every woman's heart. If you start reciting love or the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, the Ismizat, Allah, Allah, you start having the benefits in such a way that you could never count in your entire life. Now, the second important thing is to know that why is it necessary for us to clean ourselves from inside. As I mentioned in the example earlier, that if your heart is polluted, you can never proceed in your life in such a way, and you can never access Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life. If you start living a life like a common man, offering prayer and offering the other obligations, you would live a life with no awareness, and a life with unawareness is nothing in comparison with a life in which you make efforts to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only outwardly but inwardly as well, not just bodily but spiritually as well. In Silsila Aliya Naqshbandiya Mujaddidiya, we see that the seekers from their outer appearance are the reflection of a true Muslim, but from within or inside their hearts, they are all the time reciting, they are all the time associated and connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This connection is of great and paramount importance. If you are connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every step you take in your life, either within your home or outdoors, you would always fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do, or if you get tempted by Satan, you would always feel protected, and the benefits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sacred name will save you from all the evil or satanic different things that come up or come in your way. Now, it is very important for all of us to know that only by spending a little time in the muraqabah, or we call it meditation, which we focus on these elements within our soul, whose points I've just mentioned earlier. If you start focusing on them one by one, as per the directions given by our Piro Murshid, you would start finding things going in such a way that you would never feel anything else. Now, the next thing which is very necessary for you as a seeker, that when you get connected, it is necessary for you to have an imagination that is called the Sabur Shaykh. The Shaykh must be in your imagination not only at the time of meditation, but all the time. The true seekers are supposed to practice this as much as they can, because a salik or a seeker starts focusing on these things and start covering these levels one by one. So it is also necessary for you not only to understand all these things, but before, the foremost step is to find someone who is worth, someone who can take you to the God, the Kamil Murshid, someone who has already gone through all these levels and who knows very well all the path to the God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you take bay'ah or take bay'at on his hand, he initiates you in the beginning by giving you the first lesson. In Silsila Aliya Naqshbandiya, we have the number of total lessons are 25, and the subtleties are there 7. 5 in your chest, the 6th one in between your eyebrows, and the last one is in the middle of your top head. If you start following the instructions of your Kamil Murshid, your spiritual director, you start finding life much easier. We can never say that the problems diminish in your life. You start having a different perspective, which is very realistic. And when you start reciting the Ism-i-Zat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you start finding its benefits spreading in all directions. Even those who are there with you and who do not even pray, who do not even think positively about these things, they start even having effects. It's like when you go to a perfume shop, if you don't even buy anything and stay there for a little longer, you start smelling as if that you have applied smell on yourself. Similarly, if you start having the company of your Pir Murshid, which is very much necessary. As I said, that Tasawwur Shaykh is, which is a particular term in Tasawwuf, in Islamic mysticism, it is also necessary to stay connected with your Murshid or with your spiritual director. If you start meditating or reciting the different lessons you are given or granted, it is also necessary that you stay connected with your Pir Murshid and let him know about your internal feelings without passing 3 days. As in Makhtubat-e Rabbani, Hazrat Mujaddid Al-Fasani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he says that a seeker must inform his master after every 3 days, and it must not exceed this limit. So it is necessary for the seekers to stay connected. Apart from that, it is also necessary to let you know that muraqabah, the meditation, which is very much important in the Sulook, in the Naqshbandi Sulook, in the Naqshbandi Sufi lineage, the order, I would like to tell you that it is sadly observed that the seekers, soon after taking bay'ah on their Pir Murshid's hand, they start they may start offering namaz, they may start reciting the Holy Quran, but they're not very much regular in performing muraqabah or in meditation. Even if they make efforts, they sit for only a couple of minutes, and after that they start bringing the lame excuses that they cannot sit. They say that our legs usually have no feelings. After spending only or hardly 10 minutes, they start bringing such complaints which have no reality. Even if they have such complaints, they must try to stay tuned. They must try to create some habit, develop some habit to continuously sit. And if it is not, sometimes in cases of those people who are on the right side of 40 or 50 years of age, but I would like to also tell you something really funny, that the people who are on the right side of 40 and 50 are able to sit longer than the younger ones. If you talk about the youth, they sit for hardly 15 to 20 minutes, and after that they start complaining of having numb legs, of having no feelings in their necks. I would like to tell you that in our brain we have an amazing system performed, and when we see that a certain part of our body, if we start having no feelings because the blood gets blocked from there, so the brain tells another message to the other part of the body, so that that certain part of the body can start making an alternative way for the blood to flow smoothly. So it is just a matter of time. When you practice a little, you find that performing muraqabah is not as such difficult. With the passage of time, you start having different benefits. First of all, you stay connected, you have a certain focus on that, and you start having a lot of benefits. Now, in the end, I would like to pray that the people belonging to the Silsila Aliya Naqshbandiya, they must focus on one thing which is of very much great importance, that they should not only try to make changes in themselves, they should try to create things in such a way, they should try to make themselves in such a way that they can be a lesson for others to follow. And if they start bringing changes in their lives, it's not only you who is going to change, or you can, along with that, make changes for other people so that they can come and join this great Silsila Aliya Naqshbandiya Mujaddidiya. I, in the end, would also like to focus on something really important, that it is seen that in some Naqshbandi saints, in their gatherings, they suggest louder zikr, which is not allowed. When you consult Maktubat Rabbani Hazrat Mujaddid Al-Fasani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, you see that Hazrat Mujaddid Pak has always refused, has always discouraged the zikr which is louder. He always focused on a zikr which is mute. You have to recite with the tongue, not the one that you have in the form of a flash in your mouth, in the form that you can do that in your imagination. So in our Silsila Aliya Naqshbandiya, the zikr is supposed to be mute, not jahr, which means to say Allah, Allah louder. And as I said, it is not allowed and it is strictly prohibited. So we must always follow the kind of zikr which we have been suggested by our Silsila's leader, I would say, Hazrat Imam Rabbani Mujaddid Al-Fasani, that we must make this possible to recite with the tongue of our heart rather than the tongue we have in our mouth. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.